Thanks very much. I'd really like to start with where we're at. It's a pretty exciting time for Golden Mile, and we'll jump straight into it. So, Golden Mile's on the cusp of significant growth in our portfolio. We've already acquired the Pearl project as an earning project in Arizona. We have an accelerated exploration program of which we are currently executing the works on, getting the permits in place. And we have multiple exploration targets within that project as well. It's not just a one-horse play. We're also looking at further acquisitions within the company, ranging from greenfields all the way through to advanced projects, leveraging, as you say, the mining engineering background that I have consolidated with the exploration expertise we have within the company. This combined gives us a really big, strong growth opportunity. We've also gone through the process of rationalising our WA portfolio. We've removed a couple of projects with the view to bringing new stuff in. And the team that we have has significant international experience. We have significant experience between all the way from greenfields through to projects, construction, operations. And we have experience across multiple commodities ranging from precious metals to base metals. This positions us quite uniquely within this sector to provide additional leverage to value that we see. But really jumping in it, let's jump into Pearl, because we've just raised in the last week just under $1.4 million. We are cashed up. Our exploration manager is landing in the US today to accelerate the programs. And we are in, for those who don't know, we're in the Laramide Porphyry Copper Belt. Now, this is one of the most significant copper belts in the US. It runs from southwestern US into Mexico. Where we are contains supergiants, which I'll talk to a little bit more, and it hosts multiple styles of mineralization. So yes, we have major significant porphyry deposits, but we also have skarns, hydrothermal copper deposits, and everything else. Now, it's not just important to have the geology, you've got to have location. Now, when we look at the macro settings, Arizona is one of the best states to be operating in within the US, and when you talk about the US, you've got to look at the state level. There's only a few really good states to be mining in and exploring in the US, and Arizona is certainly right up there as one of them. And with all that, because there's been such a long history of copper mining within Arizona, the infrastructure throughout Arizona is absolutely second to none. We've got concentrator smelters within 100 kilometres, we've got highways within a few kilometres, and rail within a few kilometres of the mining claim. Now, when I talk about the right address, it's really important to understand the neighbours. Directly on our southern border, we have what it was the San Manuel Kalamazoo mine, owned and run by BHP. The mine ran for 44 years in production. It was a 1.3 billion tonne deposit. Just to the southern side of San Manuel, you have Oracle Ridge with Eagle Mountain, 28 million tonne resource, and about 18 kilometres to the east of us, you have Faraday Copper, which isn't quite up there on the San Manuel scale, but it's still 500 million tonne. And again, we've got all the infrastructure around. So we're right where the action is on where we need to be in this. But drilling down into the project itself, we've actually got two early attack prospects within that. We have the Odyssey prospect and we have the Ford prospect. Now at Odyssey, they both contain historical mines. So we've actually got two historical mines contained within the mining claim package. We have the Pearl mine, which is part of the Odyssey prospect, and we have the Ford mine as part of the Ford prospect. The Pearl mine was mined in the first half of last century. They mined about 60,000 tonne. There's about 800 metres of strike, but it's highly prospective for what we see. And actually, when you compare it to the way New World Resources started out on their deposit, they had a very similar size and scale and expression that we see at Pearl. With Ford's a much more interesting area, a little bit more complex, but a hell of a lot more interesting. We've got the records on Ford. So the grades we saw out of Ford, we can talk about, but what you have around Ford is what's known as the Tiger Mining Area, which encompasses the Ford mine. That mine has had a very significant polymetallic production, certainly last century, before San Manuel dominated the scene over there. And as we can see, there was gold, silver, copper, lead, zinc, molybdenum, and vanadium. It actually had 4 generations of mining sequence in there as it switched from metal to metal. But these are two great opportunities because they're effectively walk-up drill targets that we can do. Now, our priority focus is on Pearl. It's a outcropping target. It's simpler. We've conducted first pass rock chips. We've got, we got very surprised on the silver and zinc content that we saw in those rock chips. We did expect the copper, but certainly we now look at this with the lenses originally looking at it as a copper play. We see this much more as a primary copper, but a very much more a polymetallic play within the system. And with 800 meters of strike, that's the mineralized strike at surface. The structure runs for over 2 kilometers there. And there hasn't been a drill hole put in this thing ever. We've checked the records, we've walked the turf, we've looked at the ground. There is absolutely no sign of disturbance tied into that. And you can still see the old remnant mining disturbance back when this thing was originally mined. In conjunction with the Odyssey prospect, though, we have the Ford prospect. Now, obviously talked about the broader area of what came out of the Tiger mining area. But when we drill down, we actually have the historical records of some of the grades that came out of Ford. So we're getting over 10% copper, we were getting over 30% lead, and up to half an ounce gold. The mine went down about 70 meters. There were 4 levels mined. And when we did an XRF scan across the outcropping alteration, which was about 8 meters wide, we were getting results that were certainly confirming that in the XRF readings. And please consider XRF readings indicative only for the purposes of what we do. Now, what we're really intent on doing is driving the program. As I say, we're cashed up. We are moving as fast as we can, and our critical path to driving the drilling program at Pearl. That drill program will be approximately 1,600 meters, looking to test the 800 meter strike of the Pearl workings inside the Odyssey prospect. And we're going through the permitting process, getting everything lined up to go through as smoothly as we can. We have the geological resources on board to do that, which is why our exploration manager is over in country at the moment. And we want to move into a drilling program as soon as we practically can. We are pushing for do that in December. However, like any permitting process, there is always a risk that it may push into January. That doesn't prevent our overall timeline, though, of having results to market in March, because we can always fast track results. We've got multiple labs to process our assays that we'll get from that drilling to meet our timeline of what we want to be putting to the market in March. In conjunction with all that, what I'm not highlighting here is there's a lot more geochemical work, detailed geological mapping. We're investigating the potential of some more geophysics that we really want to do to test the area, to generate further targets. Because when you look at this thing, there is not just the historical mines and a couple of targets. There is significant amount of copper in the soil work that has been previously done, and significant results of copper sitting within the rock chips that have previously been done across the mine claims themselves. So there's a lot of parallel structures, a lot more to test, a lot more scratchings, for want of a better term, of historical prospecting that's occurred right across this. And what we find with Arizona in particular, no one's really looked under the cover of things. Most of the deposits in Arizona have been found by outcrop. Anything that's been hidden has hardly been discovered. And I'll give an example. The San Manuel Kalamazoo deposit was actually discovered 50 years before they started mining, right, on an outcrop, on porphyry, and it was waiting for the technology to catch up through the mechanization and the implementation of block caving to really extract the value there. And lastly, to finish up, and just to drill back to the team, I've talked about that to start with, so I will hurry up a little bit, but certainly we have a lot of experience between mining and exploration, which allows us to cover a much broader gamut of projects that we're looking to bring in. And then really finally, just to bring it home, we have near-term exploration targets at Pearl, focusing Odyssey and Ford. We've got significant potential for additional acquisitions, ranging from greenfields all the way through to advanced stage projects. And we've got the ability to provide accelerated leverage from the team we have and with the innovation we bring to the table to realise significant value gains. Lastly, this is out of date because we've just raised 1.4 million. Share price is now at 1.9 cents compared to 1.3 where we were just before the raise. So those numbers are all subject to change based on where we are, but there's been another, our total shares on issue will be sitting around 550 million once the shareholder approved stuff goes through. And the board and management are putting in 234,000 of that 1.4, or just under 1.4, of which is 100,000 is mine. No worries. Thank you very much.